Okay, so some of you might be confused about hackathon being related to the hacking done as a part of cybersecurity. Well, the answer is no, because that's something which is completely different. Here we build products with a real world impact, like from apps to IoT devices, you build the future. So though you might end up smashing your keyboard just like those movie hackers to get your idea built and ready in time for pitching. So yeah, exactly. Next slide, please. Okay, so now you all might be exactly thinking what exactly is a hackathon. So now I'm going to break it down to a bit to understand it better. So the first part is hack, which means to build or join something together with whatever tools and tech is available to us. Now that we know that, now let's tackle to the athon part. Now we have all heard about marathon, makeathon, a lot more, right? And so what's the common denominator in all of these, you may ask? It is in the form of a limit, which is generally time. So hackathons are basically speedy product building events where you showcase a brilliant idea by creating something with software or hardware within a short period of time. You can build a crisp, convincing elevator pitch to wow your judges and walk away with some exciting prizes. It can last anywhere from a few hours to few days, where a bunch of teams will compete to win the top prizes and develop something of value. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is basically what happens during the hack. You can see people working together to come up with solution to whatever the problem statement that's been given in the hackathon. And the environment is pretty intense with, like everyone is trying to brainstorm ideas and implementing them.
So yeah, like basically what Pramika said, right? Just to summarize, hackathon is simply where you participate with your friends or solo and you try to solve a problem. In layman term, that's what a hackathon is.
So this is okay. So IEEE has a great record of winning hacks both on national and international levels. So these are some of our achievements in the past years. The table at the other side shows our track record in hacks which are conducted by VIT clubs and chapters. You can see Code to Create. You might have heard about it by ACM VIT, CodeSpace, CSI VIT. Like DevSpace is going on right now. Last year it was CodeSpace by CSI VIT, and all the other hacks, Makeathon, Hack Off, Hello World. Why hack? Why do you guys think hackathon is important? Problem solving ability, yes. In a limited time, yes. But why do we hack?
What are
Yeah,
the
Binayak, you're
advantages?
absolutely correct. Like, yeah, problem solving ability and the point you mentioned in limited time, right? Like, that's really important. You're correct.
Yeah,
To learn the ability
definitely.
to solve real world problems. Okay, yeah, absolutely correct. Learn by doing. Perfect. Perfect.
Like, no one is saying cash prizes, dude. Like no one of you goes for like money.
Yeah. All right. So since now we are all fully aware of what exactly is a hackathon, one might ask self, why should you participate in one or many, right? So because it seems very stressful and time constrained, right? So let's clear that out. There are an overwhelming number of reasons why one should attend an hackathon. So basically, first of all, you get to learn and explore new technologies while developing your skills. Like you get acquainted to dealing with constraints and building past those walls while being exposed to a wide variety of teams and immense team networking and learning potential. So you're also treated with some amazing food, cash prizes await you, and even cool stickers, swags, and t-shirts, and a lot more. From digital licenses to internships and incubation, hackathons have it all. You also get a unique opportunity where you have a lot of fun with your friends while you build your personal portfolio of projects which you can showcase later. And trust me, hackathons are the chance where you actually feel like building something, and it actually motivates you to learn skills and by building projects that can actually help enhance your resume by various degrees, because personal projects are really important in your resume.
Right now, you can see many terms, right? Like, why you should go to a hackathon. According to you, what is the most important factor for you? Just type in the chat. Like, what do you think? So, personally,
Tips,
for me,
exposure,
it's stickers.
internships.
I just love stickers. So, yeah, what according to you is the unique selling point of a hack that, like, if that's there, you're convinced to go to a hack.
Yeah, internships, yes. Get to know other people ideas, yes. That's also one important thing that you do. Like,
Stickers, yeah.
yeah, a lot of people.
Cash,
Cash
Cash.
yeah, yeah,
prize,
nice, nice. Okay, so having fun should be the most important aspect. Okay, like have fun, and
networking
as I said,
itself,
like offline hacks will have lots of fun. Is like let VIT open.
exposure. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And hackathons actually help them.
Okay, guys, so you have made up your mind to go for a hackathon. So how do you start? So in general, to start anything, you just need curiosity and enthusiasm. and same applies for hacks. So sometimes, like as I said, that enthusiasm goes to a whole new level because of the amazing prizes and all for each and every hack. Cool. So now you want to go for hackathon. Where can you find hackathons? Okay. So you may usually find links or posters for hackathons on social media. And if not, or if you want to go for international hacks, you can just go to these platforms that host hackathons. And some of them are DevPost, MLH, DevFolio, HackerEarth, Skrillenza, and some more. So like you can go to any of these platforms to check out the featured hacks and just register there and there. So these will be the portals where you'll be adding your ideas and managing your team and adding various links to your project. For example, the GitHub links, YouTube links, or Behance for designs. Cool. So this will be the like the part of the hackathon where you'll be doing things for yourself. Cool. Like adding your things, like showcasing your project. So that's gonna happen on DevPost and all. So once you've registered for hackathon, most of the times you will be asked to join a Discord server or Slack workspace. Cool. So I guess most of you know what Discord is. Like you all must have your Among Us servers among yourselves to play. Cool. Yeah. So for those who don't know what they are, like these are the apps that you can download on your mobiles and desktop apps. And these servers are a must for online hacks, like announcements and updates regarding speaker sessions, games, etc., given on these servers. Also, there are specific voice channels for different domains, like where participants can ask their doubts. So there are other channels like general, memes, like showcasing projects, etc. But that changes like from hackathon to hackathon. And the aim of these channels is for the participants to have fun, like to get to know each other. And as I said, hackathon is just not about tech. It's also about making connections, having fun, and ultimately learning something new. Cool. So now you have registered for the hack, joined the Discord servers. You will need a team. So some hackathons need a minimum team strength, while some even allow individual entries. And participating in a team like always has its own perks, especially in offline hackathons. And trust me, you'll have tons of fun in a team as compared to coding alone for 24 to 48 hours. All right. So in most cases, you will be going to hacks with a bunch of friends who might be beginners in tech. So if you have some time before the app, like just browse the resources and try to grasp the basics of at least a single domain, like be it app dev, web dev, or machine learning, so that you can start work easily when you finalize the idea. And even if you're not from CSE, like someone asked, like if I'm not from CSE, how can I hack? So there are other things like electronics and coming up with solutions. Okay, like the main thing is your idea. And even if you don't know about tech, you can just design and stuff. You can prepare the PPT, and there are various aspects of hackathon where you can contribute to. Cool. All right, and if you don't have a team, don't worry. There are always separate channels for finding team members on Discord or Slack. So you can just post a query, or you can just say I want a team, and people will be really ready to join your team and work with you. And yeah, before we proceed, I would like to point out a thing that beginners sometimes think that they're not qualified enough to even participate. So that's completely not true. So hacks are a way to learn new stuff and take up new domains. And even if you don't win, you learn a lot of stuff, and it will ultimately help you grow. Cool. So the most important aspect of winning a hackathon is your idea.
So, okay, before that, Ishan mentioned, right, like we need to form a team. So, I'll tell you personally why I always participate in a team. Is so whenever I mess up, I just point out to other teammates.
So the most important aspect is your idea. Okay, that is exactly what are you gonna make in a hackathon. And innovation is the key here. Like try to think out of the box and come up with mind-blowing and thought-provoking ideas. So assume if you even have the most advanced tech stack, okay, and you have the most skilled team, but your idea doesn't have that spark, or like your idea doesn't make people wonder, like it won't matter how much work you put into it. Okay, so I'm talking about from experience. Like your idea should be top notch. Cool. So coming on to problem statements, like hackathons release problem statements before the hack or just when the hack starts. So problem statements are the problems that you have to solve in the hackathon, and they are just decided by the hackathon organizers, and they vary from hack to hack. So you have to ideate on the basis of these problems. And I would recommend you to choose a problem that you come across in your day-to-day lives. So in this way, you'll have a lot of more fun throughout the hackathon, and you'll be able to present it a lot better. All right. To get some idea about ideation, like to see like which ideas actually win hackathons, you can check out the winners of previous hackathons on Devfolio or the platform that I mentioned, and you will just get an idea like what made the idea stand out. You can just throw big words in hackathon, like people will wonder like what the fuck are they making. So deciding a timeline for your project. Cool. So actually, the first person like to start working for the hack is a designer. And unless you don't have a design, you can't start building the website or the app. So try to decide the flow of your project so that the one who's working on the back end can start making the server and database, or someone whose work does not depend on design can start working. And after the designs are complete, the designer can start working on the presentation and branding, while others work on integrating the UI part. So more on the timeline. So during hackathons, there are speaker sessions, Q&A sessions with professionals from IT industries, and sometimes even game nights and comedy sets, because you won't be coding for all 24 to 48 hours. So these things just help in clearing up your head. Cool. So most of the hacks will have reviews, like first review, second review, and then the final pitch. So the first review is just for seeing what are you actually making and how much you've implemented. You will just need 50% completion to clear this review, and most of the teams clear this round. The second round demands at least 80% completion, and those teams who have a good idea and have implemented most of their idea, they are selected for the final pitch. Cool. So we will be talking about pitching and all in a bit. Okay, so moving on. Your division of work is really important. Okay, you can't do everything alone. So coming on to like how to actually make the project, and that depends on you and your team. Like once you have figured out the tech stack and the idea, you and divided work among yourselves, you're set to make something impactful. So apart from tech, there are other things you will have to take care about, like who's gonna pitch, who's gonna present, who's gonna explain the whole implementation and all. So try to figure this out first. And it's always advised to keep some handy resources alongside you, like to make the development process fast. So we have compiled a list of some resources, okay, that you can just utilize in a hackathon. And yeah, so all these resources will make your development process faster and will like help you learn something, okay, about domains and how to integrate stuff and all. So yeah, we will be sharing the link like after the session, and make sure you save them somewhere. All right, so let's start hacking. So design is one of the most important aspects for winning a hackathon, and a good design always helps your project get highlighted and stand out. So some hacks even have a prize for the best UI UX. So yeah, designing is really important. Okay, so any designers in the house, like just give me a chair or just like raise your hand. Okay, so the like all of you who do design, can you just identify what these stickers are, like what these icons are, the PS, AI, XD, and that F, some sort of F. So yeah, these are the different softwares that designers use to make UI UX or illustrations or like designing in general. So yeah, every designer should know these, like should know how to work with them. So moving on. All right. So as I said, a designer plays a really important role in making a project look desirable, and hence often people perceive a good product design to be functional in nature too in a hack. And hacks are very exhausting. So creating some everything from scratch is a bit too much. And there can be a lot of helpful resources that play a great role during hackathons. And often some designers like tend to work from scratch, and the project ends up being incomplete. So to prevent this, we can use some tools so that they might speed up the process. Good. We will share some tips and tricks about this as well. So first, let's talk about this tool, Anima. So like, I don't think anyone of you knows what Anima is. Like, is there anyone who knows what Anima is? Yeah, I'll be really surprised. Okay, so Anima is a tool which is used to make landing pages quickly. Okay, so it converts your Figma or XD designs into HTML and CSS code. Like, how cool is that? You just design the landing page, you just design the UI of the website, and you just pass the designs to this tool, and it will get you HTML and CSS code, which you can just add to your website. Cool. So in this way, like the front end guy won't have to work hard. Like he will just have the landing page ready by the designer. So apart from it, there are other plugins that XG and Figma provide. Plugins are tools that extend the functionality of the software, and these plugins really help in like speeding up the process.
Figma is basically drag and drop, okay? You drag and drop things on your phone screen and you really like it. Now the point comes where you have to code it using HTML, CSS. Now that's the tough part, right? Anima solves it. You don't have to do anything. Just right click and export as HTML, CSS. That is it. So the whole front end part is cut down very short. So now you can directly get what you actually plan, because sometimes when you're making front end, right? Sometimes you don't actually make it as a design, but this tool helps you make it exactly. And this literally says no coding required. Just drag and drop, just draw what you want to visualize, and you get it and you get it out as an HTML, CSS. Cool. How cool is that? I mean, yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, Isha.
Yeah, so moving on to the next slide, we have UI kits. Cool. So UI kits are pre-built designs that you can download or get inspiration from. So I guess you can see some beautiful UI in the current slide. So this is a UI kit for a login page. So instead of making a login or registration page from scratch, you can just download these kits and start working on them. So this will save you time so that you can concentrate on designing the functional parts or USPs of your project. Cool. So if you start making these UI pages from scratch, for example, like just look at now how beautiful they are. You will take a lot of time. Cool. But you can just download these UI kits and just start working on them. You can just edit them, drag and drop, and do whatever you want, and it will save you a lot of time. You can just Google UI kits and then like space and then whatever UI kit you want. For example, login pages, a weather app, and all. You can get free UI kits for all of them. All right. So like the next we have tips and tricks for designing. So like these are some small tips that you should keep in mind while designing for a hackathon. So first we have like research and define problems. So try to come up with all the features of your idea and the problems you're solving before you start designing, and just note them down somewhere so that you don't miss anything. Because if you note down all the ideas and features of your app, it will also help you make the presentation later. Cool. Because at the end you will have to like put it all together and then just pitch.
And to answer Binayak's question from where the kits, so Binayak, as you mentioned, right, we have prepared a list of resources and a so-called cheat sheet. So we'll be giving you at the end, and it has more than enough things that you need to win a hack if you use it the right way. Yeah.
All right. So the next point we have is rapid wireframing. So wireframing is a short period of 2 to 3 hours where the designer notes down the flow of the UI, the rough designs, and how other screens are connected to each other. So in this phase, it is recommended that the whole team should keep on adding notes and ideating related to the idea, and the design and the designer notes them down on the same sheet with the wireframes. Also, what actually happens is the designer, when he starts designing, he has a rough sheet of paper where he's drawing the designs and linking the pages. Cool. And in the corner, he just writes down the features so that he won't have to ask the team again and again. So in this period, the whole team can contribute to it. The next point is we should focus more on designing the functional parts of your app and do the rest with UI kits, as I said. So just to save time and focus more on what actually you're building. Then we have presentation and branding. So this is very, very important, and we'll be talking about that in the presentation and pitching session at the end. Next, we have mockups. So like mockups make your project feel professional. Okay, you make your project feel professional, and often a product with good and professional designs is often perceived to be functional as well. Like it like helps your project get highlighted. Okay, when the selection process starts. All right, so that's it for design, I guess. Like, do you guys have any doubts? Like anything you want to add, or like any more resources that you have, like you can provide to the audience, or anything you want to ask us? You can just ask us right now.
Talked about mockups, right? So once again, mockups does not require any coding. Whatever tool you just built in, you can just export it as a mockup. And just look how professional it looks, right? It gives your product a professional feel. So it really helps in a hack.
Yeah, so there's a confusion. Okay, so Anima doesn't create designs for you. So you have to just put the designs into the tool, and what it will do is just give you the code that you can put up in your website. For mockups, you have to make mockups. Okay, you can just Google tools for making mockups, and you just have to pass screenshots of your apps and websites, and you will get generated mockups for you.
And yeah, Binayak has asked, how about Canva for making mockups? It has many tools. Yeah, so
Yeah,
like,
sure.
see, so how it works, there are various tools, okay? It's just that the tool which you like to use. So for us, it's Figma. For somebody, it's Adobe Illustrator. It's Adobe XD. For somebody, it might be Canva.
So I guess that's it for design. And now Anshul will talk about hacks regarding web dev and app dev. So yeah, Anshul, take it.
Yeah. So hello everyone, I'm Anshul Agarwala. And now that we understand what a hack is, let's spend the next few minutes talking about what actually to build. Yeah, while you can build anything, right? It could be a robot, it could be a VR simulation. But talking from experience, 90% of the time, you will end up building an app or a website. So let's tackle that. So let's talk about the web first. So can you tell me, like, what are the two sections in which web development can be divided? Okay, front end and back end. That was quick, and that's correct. So front end and back end. So yeah, that's the correct answer. Front end development deals with the user facing element, whereas back end development is concerned with the server, application, database. Okay, So when you're scrolling and clicking through a website, you're interacting with its front end. It's the user interface, the text, images, animations, everything else that appears on the screen. That's the front end. It's the front end's job to organize the request and present the information in a way that is appealing and easily understood. In contrast, backend development is what governs the function and the processes. So when you click on a link of a product page, say for an e-commerce website, then the websites pull the data behind the scenes and send it to the user interface. Where this data is stored and how it's managed, how it's fetched, that's the backend's job. So the code utilized in the backend development is the backbone of the entire website, and it powers the web application itself. Okay, so here is the interesting part. Honestly speaking, you will never run out of things to learn. But that doesn't mean that you can't participate in a hackathon. Hackathon is all about knowing the resources that are available to you and making the most out of them. Resources like GitHub, Stack Overflow, the countless libraries and templates. Like you saw one, right? Anima. You didn't know about it, but now your life as a front-end developer is easy. So that's the tool you should know to participate in a hackathon. So yeah, so let's talk about front-end a bit. A traditional course will teach you front-end using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. While it's correct, you need the basics of this language, but you don't have to master this to make a cool-looking website. There are tools like Wix. You can build beautiful beautiful website using Wix without writing a single line of code. Then we talked about Anima, right? It converts your Figma sketches to HTML directly in a click. And not to mention about Bootstrap. So yeah, Bootstrap is super powerful. Let me show that to you. Like how can you use it in your project? Yeah, so you can go to the resources that we provide and you will find the link for Bootstrap.
Yeah, should let's just show them right now.
Yeah. So go to the cheat sheet. You will get the link at the end and find the Bootstrap link, which will be in the front end section. Yeah. So they will greet you with this beautiful page. Just get started, clicking on the purple button. And yeah, so you can see the list of available tools. You can go to the content or the components. Yeah, so suppose you want to make a button, like HTML button are dual, right? So if we check CSS button, yeah, you have the primary, secondary, beautiful, colorful buttons. You can just copy this code. Or how about a navbar? Like it could be a nightmare to implement a navbar by your own. But yeah, so this is the navbar. You can see this is really complex to generically code. But yeah, you can just directly copy this code and paste it in your HTML file, and like you will have a fully functional navbar. That's how easy it is. So yeah, let's get back to the slides.
Yeah, Darsh, you're correct. Bootstrap is just amazing. Like it solves your problem as a front-end web developer very easily. You can just pick code and like you just copy paste it directly.
Yeah. So now let's get to the backend, right? So you can use anything for backend, ranging from Node.js, Flask, or even you can use anything for backend, Node.js, Flask, or Django. If you have some idea about Python, you should start with Flask or Django because it's based on Python. And if you do backend, if you do front end, then you know JavaScript. And yeah, so Node.js is based on JavaScript. It will be helpful.
I think Anshul
So that was
lagged a
about,
little bit. So I'll just brief it again. So web backend basically has two types. Like you can either use Django, Flask, or Node.js. Like you can see the three names, right? So if you're familiar with Python, Django and Flask are based on Python and they're very easy to learn. Yeah, Vinayak, Python. And Node.js is based on JavaScript, and JavaScript also comes in front end. So yeah, it's up to you. If you're familiar with JavaScript, you can go for Node.js. But if you're familiar with Python in your first time or your second time, you can try Node.js. Sorry, you can try Django or Flask.
so let me tell you an incident. Like I remember it was my first hack, and the problem statement demanded that I had to build a voice recognition feature in my app. And believe me, I had no idea what voice recognition was. I was clueless. But I began with a Google search, like simply how to implement voice recognition in my website, and followed the first link. And believe me, like I implemented voice recognition, which is very complex at the first glance, in just 5 lines of Python code. So yeah, that's how you hack the hackathon. You hack the at using the right tools. And you find the right tools by having the hackish mindset of Googling stuff, of getting the code from GitHub, of solving your problems from Stack Overflow. No one is expecting from you to build everything from scratch. It's an hackathon. The final product matters more than how you build it. Okay, now so websites are cool, but apps are cooler, right? So a common confusion is when to build an app and when to build a website. Here is my rule of thumb. If you expect a user to use your service while moving, or you want the user to make use of smartphone sensors like camera, microphone, it may be GPS, then app is the way to go. Otherwise, you should stick to the website. Okay, so I want to show you a few templates. Yeah, next slide, please. Like, check the search view. And the next template. This is the Fab filter. I haven't built it. It's available in GitHub. Check the liquid swipe. Like, it's a landing page. Like, I'm sure the judges will be impressed. And you don't have to hard code this. All these are available in the GitHub, and you can just like implement it in few lines of code. So yeah, and that's what you have to do, right? If you go ahead and try to implement this by your own, then it will easily take up 24 to 48 hours of your hack, which is the 100% of the hack. So you have to use the tools. Now, I can't stop talking about apps without talking about Firebase. So Firebase is a database provided by Google. And believe me when I say this, Firebase will make your life easy. Apart from the core database, Google also added many features to Firebase, be it cloud messaging, authentication, ML kits, and many more. Two of my favorites are cloud messaging and authentication. Cloud messaging allows you to quickly add the chat features in your app or website. And what authentication is it handles the complexity of login and sign up for your application. And you can easily implement things like login with Google, Apple, or Facebook. So that's what Firebase authentication is all about. Okay, so assuming that I didn't overwhelm you with jargons and inspired you to explore this topic, I hand over the session to Ishan, who will tell you how to put all this together and make something significant.
So how many app devs and web devs in the house?
Ishan, can you just before talk a little bit more about Firebase?
Okay, so like Firebase is a tool developed by Google, which has made like lives of developers very, very easy. Okay, for example, if you want to add authentication to your app, or if you want to add database to your app or website, okay, like you need a server, but you don't have a backend, like a backend person. What you can do is you can just add Firebase to your project. So Firebase handles everything, okay, like the request, like the database, the authentication part, and everything, okay. So even if you are not into backend, you can just learn Firebase, and Firebase is really easy and well documented. We'll be providing resources of Firebase too. So you can just look up Firebase. You can just add Firebase dependencies to your project, and just in some lines of code, you can add authentication. Some lines of code, you can add a database. You can make a cloud messaging app, and it's all very, very easy. But if you're going to do it with backend, and it will be really, really tough. So yeah, like Firebase is really good for hackathons because you don't have much time, and yeah, Firebase makes your life like very, very easy. Like Firebase is like very, like we can talk about Firebase in detail, but it will take like an hour or so. So all right, so let's move on to this one of the session. So how to integrate other domains in your project? Okay, so let's say you are done with app dev and web dev, and you want to do something different with the project. You want to add ML, blockchain, or AR. So like nowadays, many hackathons have special tracks and problem statements for blockchain and AR. And talking about blockchains, Ethereum and Tezos are some SDKs that you can use to make blockchain projects. So we have included templates and other resources for integrating blockchains into your app or website in the Notion page that we'll be sharing with you all. So try to read about blockchain before using these resources, because some of the things might seem a bit intimidating. And blockchains are used for decentralized projects, and like decentralization is a property for blockchains, and you will have to read about it a bit. Or if you want to know more about blockchains, like we had a tech loop on blockchains as well, and we'll be like adding it on YouTube soon, so you can just go through and know all about blockchain. All right, so moving on to ML, okay, and how you can add ML to your app. Cool. So there are many ways in which you can add machine learning to your app or website, and we'll be sharing you like both of them. So as Anshul said, like Google has made life a lot easier for developers by including Firebase. And another wonder that Google came up with was the ML kit. Cool. So ML Kit consists of pre-trained ML and DL models. So ML stands for machine learning and DL stands for deep learning, and that you can directly integrate into your app. Cool. So as you can see, you can add features like OCR scanners, like text recognition, object detection, barcode scanning, etc. into your apps without even having to know ML. For example, you don't have an ML engineer or ML developer in your team, and you want to add these ML features. So what you can do is just go to ML Kit, like look up these ML models, read the documentation, and add them into your apps or websites. So how cool is that? Like without even having to know Python, you can add these features into your project. We have designing, we have developed, but can't ensure our team will have members from these domains. What to do for that? Cool. So yeah, hack is all about learning. So if you don't have these persons in your team, you can just learn up these skills because you will have 24 to 48 hours. And obviously, if you don't have a web dev guy, you can just make the templates with Figma and just use the backend as Firebase. And if you're going to participate in a hack, just try to learn up these domains a bit. Just try to read about them a bit so that you are not completely clueless inside the hack. And always try to find domains that complement each other in a hack. Okay, like make teams accordingly. And yeah, hackathons are all about learning. So yeah, just go for it. Learn things, and yeah, you'll be good to go.
And Vinayak, I think to exactly answer your question, what to do for that? I think that's exactly what Google's Firebase ML Kit is. You don't need to know like how ML works. You can just click one button, and there you have machine learning integrated with your website or app directly. Like that's where it helps.
So yeah, moving on. Next, we have the Teachable Machine by Google, and it's like more wonderful than ML Kit. So what this tool does is it generates ML classification models based on the data that you provide. Cool. So example, you provide a series of images with labels, and what it will do it will just give you an ML model out of it. So how cool is that? You just have to like make a series of images and just pass them on to the tool, and it will do everything. Like how easy is that? Like, again, and no one really will know like how did you make that ML model and all. So like let me give you a small example of like how it works. Okay, so how many of you watch Pokemon? Any Pokemon fans here? You know what a Pokédex is? So Pokédex is a device that can scan a Pokemon and give you the details of that Pokemon. So you can make a simple Pokédex in minutes using the Teachable Machine by Google. You just have to create a series of Pokemon images with correct names and pass that information to the tool, and you'll be good to go. So as I said, not only images, you can classify sounds and human poses as well using this tool. So all you will need is a series of objects like images and correct naming, which will make like it easier for this tool to train models. And once you have generated the model, you can just add it to your app like the other models that ML Kit had. So just go through the documentation and you'll be good to go. Like Firebase has really beautiful documentation. Okay, like if you don't know anything, like if you don't know shit, you can just go to Firebase, open up the documentation, and add features, and you just add them in minutes. Okay. So yeah, that's how easy life has become like after the introduction of Firebase and ML Kit. All right. So now let's come to integrating your own models into an Android app. For example, you have a ML developer or ML engineer in your team, and he has prepared an ML model. How you can integrate it into your app or website? Cool. So for this, you can use Flask and Pickle. So as we discussed, Flask is a lightweight and easy to use framework for creating servers, while Pickle is a library that allows you to access ML models on that Flask server. Cool. So you can just host a simple Flask server with the ML model as an asset and like some code to access the model using the library Pickle. So we have also added a simple tutorial on how to do this, and you can just view that tutorial on the Notion page. All right. So yeah, this might seem intimidating, but you will get to know stuff when you read about it. So the drawback of this method is you will need internet. Okay, you will need internet access as your ML model will be hosted on the server. And in order to use an ML model offline, you can use a technology called TensorFlow Lite. So using this, you can access ML models in your native Android app or Flutter app or even IoT devices using Raspberry Pi. Okay, so I assume you don't know what Raspberry Pi is. So Raspberry Pi is like a credit card size computer that can run operating systems like Linux, Debian Linux, Android, and like IoT Core to make IoT devices. And TensorFlow Lite, like there are tools on internet in which you can convert your normal like sklearn machine learning models or Keras models into TF Lite. Just get the model, add to your Android app, add the dependencies, and you'll be good to go. For all this, there are pretty beautiful documentations on Google. You can just go through them. Okay, it will sound a bit intimidating in the first, but when as I said, when you read about stuff, you get to know. All right. So moving on, as I said previously, that AR is really in trend currently, and so many apps have AR as a separate track. Like you can make AR apps using libraries like AR Core for Android and ARKit for iOS. Both are really well documented and easy to use. So if you're an Android developer and you want to integrate AR into app, you use AR Core. You just add the dependency of AR Core into your app. And if you're a Swift developer or an iOS developer, use ARKit. And if you want to make full-fledged AR apps, you can use Unity, which is basically a game engine, and that also a very powerful one. So just a quick fact, like the game Among Us that you might be playing, like in the past few months, that game was made using Unity. Okay, so we have included all the resources for this as well, and so don't worry, we have got you covered.
Does an IT student have some advantage over others? Okay, so to answer that question, okay. So the moment you went to choose your branch, right? Before that, all of you were same. After that, also, after that second, also, you are all still the same, right? The only difference is you just learn some topics in your college or in your VIT, but at the end, it's more about what you learn apart from your college, right? Like what you learn in college, probably everybody learns it. So it's more of like what domains you explore and what excites you more. So like technically, there's no branch specific thing in any hackathon. It's just like, yeah, as Ishan mentioned, your willingness to learn. So Binayak, so there aren't any hackathons that are like some beginner level. All hackathons are in fact beginner level. The whole point is to learn and the journey of a hackathon. So there's nothing such as a beginner hackathon or an advanced hackathon. It's just about taking part, going to a hack with your friends, learning different things and having fun. Like, yeah, I mean, and having fun does not have anything, right? Like, it does not have a beginner or an advanced stage.
Drum
Okay, by
rolls,
any chance,
please.
does somebody know who this person is in the GIF? Daniel Ricciardo. He is, in fact, Daniel Ricciardo. He is a Formula One driver. Yep. Cool. So now let's talk about the most important part of a hackathon. That is presentation. So yeah, so we're talking about presentation, right? So presentation is the point, like where you explain your idea or prototype, like what have you made till now to the judges. So this is the time you convey your idea across the room and to tell the organizers what you have made and why you have made. Now there are certain points which you should keep while presenting, and these are like the major differentials that can happen in like while you participate in a hack. So yeah, let's talk about them. So the first and foremost thing, now I'll be showing you one question. This is what you should fear in every hackathon. No judge should ever ask this question. They should not ask you what the problem statement was. So Ishan already like talked about, right? Like he talked about how important choosing a problem statement is. So let's talk about it again. So having a problem statement is basically the judges give you, mostly they'll give you weird problem statements so that they want to know how much your creative thinking skills are. And yeah, just make sure your product at every time is related to the problem statement in a direct way. And yeah, to do that, so initially Ishan mentioned that you ideate, right? You think of what you make. So while ideating, try to keep this thing in mind. Every hour, try to question yourself. What problem are you solving? Is this related to the problem statement? And how at the end it helps the community, right? So give more emphasis on how your prototype would solve the problem, and not just solve the problem, try to include additional features, because see, at the end of the day, everybody tries to solve the problem. All we're interested in, or the judges, is which is the most efficient way to solve the problem and which has more additional features out of it, right? So yeah, just try to relate your problem statement as much as you can, and to keep another thing in mind in case you drift away. Like I've drifted away a lot a couple of times. Even if you drift away from the idea, try to correlate it with your problem statement in such a way that at the end of the day, the judges are convinced that this is the most efficient way to solve this problem statement, and these students have done it in the perfect way possible. In my opinion, this is like the most important point here. Make sure the concept is conveyed irrespective of the implementation. This is the part where I think most of the beginners, like who don't have a good amount of hack experience, make mistake. So yeah, we're going to tell you something. This is definitely going to help you. So throughout the whole hackathon phase, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it is, despite of whatever you managed to build, make sure the judges know what you wanted to build in the first place, and the concept or the idea what you wanted to make reaches at the end of the room. Like everybody knows what you wanted to make at the end of the day. So it is important for them to know what the final product would look like instead of like how much it has been implemented. Because at the end of the day, they'll judge you based on what your idea is and what you've thought behind it. So to okay, so this point has a very good amount of weightage, and to give it a better explanation, I show you a couple of graphics. So let's say this is your product. Somehow the code is messed up, and somehow it might be working, it might be partially working, it might not even be working in some cases. Don't worry. The point is, you and your teammates know it's not working, right? The judges still haven't seen your product. So this is how you present it. Just show them what you have made. Be confident in the mess you have created. Try to smartly convert your product's bugs or flaws into the features, because at the end of the day, they want to see the final product and how it looked like and what your idea was, right? So even if our code is messed up, something does not work, in your presentation, convert all of that smartly into bugs and features and just show that, okay, this is the product and this is what we wanted to build in the first place and this is exactly what we wanted. So yeah, this is a very important point. So the next point is branding. Okay. So branding is once again very important. Branding kind of lies to what the designer does, but it has to be implemented in every part of the project, right? So branding gives your product a very commercial vibe to it and also gives your product or prototype a social presence. A constant vibe throughout your front end or any of your code or project files or let's say GitHub repositories gives the judges a homely vibe and they see, oh, we've seen this before and this looks professional. So yeah, this is what about branding. So talking about branding, okay, I want you all to think. So the moment I mentioned about the term branding, what's the first company or product which comes to your mind? Okay, I'm still expecting one answer, one company which I don't know why hasn't any. Apple, exactly, Apple. Apple's branding is just top notch. The simplicity and the minimalistically way it does it, it's just exceptional. Okay,
Amul. Why
we have
Amul?
Amul, okay,
Okay. Okay.
and we have Microsoft, Google. Yeah, exactly. So for me, it more of is about McDonald's, right? All of you have seen this logo, right? Like, what do you think when this logo comes up anywhere in the on the highway in some advertisement? What happens is Zomato has worked very hard in its branding. Let's take a real life example. Think of McDonald's. What is the first thing you see? The first thing you realize is the last time you ate in McDonald's and what did you eat? So this basically helps them in marketing as well as advertisement in the same place, right? When you think of what you ate last in a McD, you tend to go there again. You tend to feel like, oh, I missed this thing. I want to eat it again. So that's the importance of branding, right? So yeah, now I show you another graphic which actually helps how branding kind of usually makes it very simpler for the advertisement and the publicity and marketing of the product. Yeah, you can see this graphic, right? If you do a top-notch branding, marketing, advertisement, and designing is just simple things. That advertisement is just annoying at the end of the day, right? We all hate advertisements or anything, like somebody trying to convince us for no reason. That's what branding is, but in a really clever and a smart way. Include all the relevant URLs and images in your project submission. So this might be something too obvious for you that you might think, okay, everybody does that. But to be honest, few of us just forget to add, let's say, our Figma brainstorming or our Figma designing link or maybe our GitHub project link. So don't do that just because see, this is a point where the judges can actually see what you've implemented and they can see the legitimacy of a product, that if you've actually made something or you're just talking in the air. So yeah, include everything and to top that, make sure everything is in a presentable state. Okay, every Figma or GitHub or any URL or image you provide should have your team name, should have your theme colors that you've been using across your product. It should have a consistent branding and a professional vibe to it. Because at the end of the day, professionalism value, like it's very important in a hack. Like it gives your product a commercial vibe, and they don't want to see some messed up product which has like not even gone out to the market, and they're like, this does not have a market, this does not look good, right? So yeah, this is a very important point. A bit obvious, but yeah, people tend to make mistakes. So keep an eye here too. Okay, so now comes the important part. Like all the things I've talked about till now, right? These are things many of you do because after you go to various hacks, you figure out these things have to be done. But now let's talk about how to score some brownie points. Now, these brownie points are something which gives you that added benefit in the hack, something which other people or the other participants don't have. So, yeah, let's talk about them. So, yeah, this is a very important thing. Try to follow the hacks theme. So, by hacks theme, so let's say we recently went to a hack which was conducted during Halloween, right? And they followed a Halloween theme. So, how you can follow the hacks theme? Just try to have those kind of colors in your presentation and even in your product if you think it actually helps. Specifically for Halloween theme, try to include small pumpkins wherever possible because this not only gives your product something which matches the vibe of the hackathon, this also shows the judges that you have respected the hack and you have built something based on their theme. Yeah, so this actually helps, and most of the people don't think of it in the first place. So yeah, this is the point where you can like climb up the ranks easily. And don't try to overdo it. Just don't try to follow the hacks theme completely. Then it might look like plagiarism that you just copied their theme. But try to do it in a very subtle way that it actually helps. Because Binayak has asked before that, including stuff like sites where we took design coding ideas from. Yeah, so hack is kind of a journey. You show them where you started and where you've ended. So try to include everything, okay, not directly, but try to include them indirectly that, okay, we have taken inspiration from these brands and why. So they know that, okay, you have done this and that's how you've grown in the whole hack, like in the whole phase of 24 to 48 hours. So yeah, just try to include anything relevant. Yeah. So yeah, coming back to the point, to scoring brownie point, the first point is follow the hacks theme. Then the second point is include the hacks logo. This is not everybody does, but yeah, this really helps. Okay, so this really helps in the publicity and marketing of the product after the hack. So what usually happens if you include the hacks logo in your presentation or your product somewhere, right? Your product may get featured in the hackathon or the organizer's website or even an after event video, which in turn, as I said, gives you good publicity and marketing. Now, this also comforts the hack organizers and adds you to the good books, thus increasing your chances to win. So, yeah, it's not even a big deal, right? There's a small logo you have to add somewhere in your PPT or your presentation or maybe your product if possible. Yeah, now the third point. So, okay, so if you ask me in these 3 points, this is the most important point, and this can get you the most amount of brownie points very easily. Interact with the judges. Try to interact. So, first of all, every hackathon has mentors and judges. These people help you whenever you're stuck, and they help you throughout the journey, irrespective of what team or what your idea is. So, talk to them whenever you face a problem. Be as honest with them as possible. Just let them know what you're trying to figure out. So first of all, they'll try their best to help you, and second of all, when they see this product at the end while judging, they'll get a flashback. Oh, I've seen this product at the initial stages, and this is where they have reached in the past 24 to 48 hours. How cool is that? So how high the learning curve is. So this usually helps them as it gives them a familiar presence while they're reviewing all the products. And yeah, this increases your chances considerably. And yeah, this is, as I mentioned, the easiest way to like just climb up the ranks and to get a differential. So yeah, to sum up how to score some brownie points, try to follow the hacks theme, include the hacks logo, and try to interact with the judges. Try to interact with judges, you'll learn more as well. And yeah, it in turn gives you brownie points as well. Okay, so now we asked initially a lot of you have been to hacks. I want to know if you all think there are any other brownie points according to you. I'll modify my question, okay? You can see 3 points on the slide. What, according to you, is the most important to score brownie points? So I said the third point for me, like in my opinion, the third point is very important because that's where the judges know you on a personal level. So yeah, what according to you all is the most important point to score brownie points? Show teamwork more than individual skills. Yeah, Binayak, absolutely. This helps. Develop stuff using hack sponsor. Okay, yeah, Alok, that is actually a very good point. So like hackathons have a lot of sponsors in the first place, right? So try to build your product using that. For example, let's say Google is a sponsor. So try to make something out of Google Firebase or something called of a Google Cloud program. So these things basically help you get in the good books of the sponsors as well, right? So yeah, look, that's technically a very good point. Yeah. Don't try to like just show that your team does not know anything and you know more. Hackathon is all about teamwork, right? Show them as a team how much you are willing to learn, how much you are willing to participate as a team and like help each other grow. And as Alok beautifully mentioned, develop stuff using hack sponsors. That is a really great point. Cool. Now we'll move to pitching. Okay, so before I move on to pitching, I wanna know from you all what according to you is pitching. Focusing your project, okay, correct. Moving forward, convincing, yeah. Showcasing our project is, yeah, absolutely correct. Presenting our project in an understandable way, yep, makes sense, absolutely. Convincing, sort of, yeah. Yeah, you have to convince, yep. Pitching is all about convincing, yeah. So pitching, according to me, is selling your product. So I think somebody mentioned, right? Convincing or showcasing. It's more of selling your product to the judges and telling them how it helps the community or the outer world. Get the judges invested in your area, invested in your idea. Make them realize that you're not limiting this idea just for the sake of winning this hack. You want to build this after the hack. You have some future plan. You want to help the community at the end of the day. So this not only shows them that you're not you don't just want to win the hack, but you want to help the community, and that in itself is a big plus point. So yeah, now pitching, as I mentioned, right? Get the judges invested in your idea. Show them this is the product which is going to win it. It solves the problem statement in the most efficient way, and just convince them that this is it. It's going to win it. It's just for you to decide now. That's the level of pitching it should be. Now you can pitch by showing a live demo, or you can even pitch while having a presentation and speaking along with the presentation as we are doing right now. So yeah, so pitching when you do it along with a live demo, right? That usually helps a lot. Pitching with a live demo is like an icing on the cake. It basically shows the judges how confident you are in the product, and it walks them through the product, how you use the product, how the user can use the product in the first place. So it actually helps them understand the product in a better way, and it shows your confidence in the first that what you have built is ready to go to the market and it's ready to do big games. Future scope of development. Okay, Binayak will come to that shortly. That is a very good point. Yeah, we'll come to that. Okay, so the most important point of pitching. What do you think is the most important part of pitching from your end? What do you think? Like, just guess it. What do you think is the most important part while you're pitching? Presentation. Okay. What is the most important part? Live demo. Okay, Disha, perfect. Confidence. Perfect. Exactly. Confidence. That's it. Yeah. Unique selling points, future scope of development. Arsh and Binayak, you've touched great points. We'll be coming to them shortly. We'll talk about them in detail. But yeah, Disha, exactly. Confidence. So, yeah, as you can see, right, this is how you pitch. Don't let the judges have any second thoughts about your product. They just have to love it or love it. That is it. Just convince them this is the winning product. It's just for them to announce it. Once again, they just have to love it or love it. Simple as that. There's no other choice. We heard Binayak talk about future scope of development, and our also mentioned this term called unique selling point, right? So let's cover them one by one. So first of all, pitching, right? You in every hackathon, you are given a specific time for pitching. There's a certain time limit, right? So how it works is you kind of try to divide your pitching into three parts basically. The first is, as you can see, explaining your inference of the problem statement. The second part is followed by explaining your product as well as its USP. USP stands for unique selling point. We will be covering that soon, as Arsh mentioned, exactly, unique selling point. And the third point, talk about the business model and the future works. So let's do one thing. Let's talk about them one by one. Okay, so before that, as you can see, all the minutes add up to 10 minutes, right? 3 plus 5 plus 2, it's a 10. So that is usually how pitching is. But in specific hacks, they might give you 3 minutes, 7 minutes, I don't know. So just try to scale these timings accordingly, but try to follow this time structure. It helps a lot. Okay, so now first talk about explaining your inference of the problem statement. So here in the first 3 minutes, basically 30% of your pitching time, try to explain what you as a team have understood from the problem statement. Okay, what do you think is the most efficient way to solve that problem? So as I mentioned previously, right, every problem has a ton of solutions, but at the end of the day, what we look for is the most efficient solution, the one which helps everybody in the least amount of work done way. So yeah, spend 3 full minutes out of 10 and make the judges know that you understood the problem statement in what way and how you plan to tackle it. Don't get into your product technicalities here. Just give them a brief about how your product solves the problem in the first place. And yeah, just try to cover how you're trying to solve the problem statement in the first place and what you've understood. This is a really important point. That's why we are allocating 30% of our pitching for this. Usually people, like, if you see any previous hackathon submissions, right, pitching, I think they just talk about 30 or 40 seconds out of 10 minutes. So that's where, like, if you can't convince the judges what you've understood from the problem statement, it just kills the vibe of your product. So yeah, try to spend around 30-35% of your time in explaining what you've understood from the problem statement. Cool. Now let's talk about the second point, that is explaining your product and its USP. Okay, so first of all, USP. USP stands for unique selling point. This is, I think, one of the most important points of a product. So while ideating, right? While ideating, try to have a unique selling point of a product, that something which is not already available in the market. So this is what shows that you have not copied anything. And yeah, this has a unique point to it and why the audience should buy it. So yeah, try to walk the judges through your product in this phase. Explain your product. Don't go into the tech stack that you've used, maybe what Python, HTML, CSS to build it. Don't go into the details of it, because at the end of the day, what they want to see is what you're giving to the users. They want to see how your product is built and what it does actually, and how easy it is for the user to navigate through it. Explain how the user could interact with the product, and then talk about its USP. So USP is very important. USP, I'll once again repeat, it stands for the unique selling point of a product. This is very important as it briefly just gives an idea about what is the scope of the market, like how the market or like the audience would react with it, would react with the product. Because think of it, there's already something developed in the market and you're making something exactly in the hack. It doesn't make sense, right? Like something already exists. Why would I use it in the first place? So yeah, try to spend 50% of your time while explaining your product and its USP. Many people make mistakes of what they do is they try to explain their product for 5 minutes and not ESP. They try to explain more about the tech stack, that is what Python, JavaScript they've used and what different functions or libraries they've used. Judges are not really interested in what they have, and if they are interested, they will directly ask you. Try to cover USP here, as USP is very important. Like that's what convinces judges why this product is a win-win product. Now let's talk about the third point, business model and future works. So business model is basically like how you plan to make revenue or generate revenue when your product goes out in the market. Because as a product, every product like needs development or like needs maintenance, right? And maintenance requires some funding. So try to try to think properly about the business model of your product and how you're planning to make money. And and the same goes for future works. The judges, they don't want to see something built for the hack. A hackathon at the end of the day is you try to build some to help the community, right? So the future works is really important, that you're not going to stop after 72 hours. You're going to build it further. You're going to help the community. So try to think of it, try to explain what community and what organizations are you targeting to help them, and how something which already exists cannot help them in the first place. And yes, no pitching session can be good enough until you're confident. You should be confident, as people mentioned. Confidence, just be proud of whatever you've built. So yeah, as we talked about, this is one last thing to do. That's be enthusiastic. Be enthusiastic of whatever you've built. Be proud and confident about your last 48 hours. Whatever your hack journey is, be proud, be enthusiastic of whatever you've built. If you personally, your team does not value or respect your product, you cannot expect the judges to be proud of it, right? Flex all of its features, and I think I mentioned it numerous amount of times. Convert all your bugs, flaws into features. Make them realize that this is what you wanted to build in the first place, and you're successful in building it. So yeah, once you've done all of this and you've followed everything you've told you and something from the internet, there's just one thing left to do. What to do now? That's it. You win the internet, you win the hack. Simple as that. Nothing else. Just go follow, just try to cover all the brownie points. Just try to do whatever. Just do your best in pitching, presentation. Try to build what you wanted to build in the first place. And the best part is learn. Just learn out of it. And simply if you follow all of this, you'll just win. Like that's what the hack organizers want to see in the first place. What have you learned? So yeah, as you can see, right? Just win the internet. Simple as that. Okay.
And like even if you don't win, like the projects that you make will always count like as your personal projects. Okay, like you can improve upon them and just take them to other hacks. Like just change the idea a bit, like improve more, add more features, take them to other hacks, and just add them as your personal projects. Add them to your portfolio. Okay,
do you give an example of the stuff you can do with IoT and etc.? How can link it to problem statement? Okay, so IoT, right? So as Ishan mentioned, right, you can integrate TensorFlow with Android. You can even integrate TensorFlow with IoT. So now just think of it. Machine learning with IoT. That's like a whole world of possibilities. You can literally do anything.
Another good example of how you can integrate IoT systems is with any kinds of electronic, components or electronic sensors that you might require. So let's say you're building something using a Raspberry Pi. You can build a robot, or you can build a very simple, let's say QR scanner, or uh, uh, an application which senses whether there is a metal present in certain things. Like whenever we go into malls and they check for metal detectors and stuff like that. So things like these can be built in hacks using IoT. So IoT will essentially connect your product to the internet, and then you can access this using tools like Firebase and any other backend systems that you might have. So here are like very good applications of IoT, and there have been a lot of cool products that have come into hackathons and actually won as IoT products. So yeah, you can definitely build something cool like that.
Also, have you guys heard about smart homes, like smart home appliances? For example, with IoT and Android, like integrating IoT with Android, you can make a Android app which can control your ACs, your TV, or your curtains. Okay, like make your home smart. So like all that, like the LED lights and all, you can all just control that with your phone. So for example, we connect like your app to a Bose speaker or like some high level speaker, and you get an app to control all the features. So that's done through IoT.
On a technical level, how do you decide what to do next? Like I began with Python this sem and then. Yeah, so I think all of us started with Python in the first sem.
Yeah.
So you can start with any domain. So try to explore them. Try to explore all of them. Try to explore web dev front end. Try to explore web dev backend. You can try to explore electronics, cybersecurity, machine learning. Because see, okay, if you want to do something in Python to have some confidence, machine learning can be done in Python, I think. Web dev can be done in Python. Um, yeah, so you can try these domain. Even cybersecurity can be done in Python.
You can
So
make games in Python even.
yeah, game development can be done in Python too. So at the end of the day, it's just more about exploring the domains, just finding out what you like. Because at the end of the day, if you like something, you'll do anything to learn it. So that's it. Try to find your interests. That's it. So yeah, as we mentioned, we have something special for the VITians, right? As we all know, the hack season is coming up in VIT, right? And as we heard initially, all of you are going to various hacks in VIT. Now, according to us, there are some special tips and tricks that might help you in VIT hacks, especially. Let's briefly talk over them. So, pitching we already mentioned, right? I mean, we already told about the importance of it. But especially in VIT hacks or in any university hack, pitching is more of a do or die situation, as this can legitimately win you a hack, and pitching has more weightage than your product in university hacks. Don't show the bugs in your product, as I mentioned. Try to pitch your product as if everything is top notch and exactly what you wanted to build in the first place. So yeah, pitching in I'll just say the statement again. Pitching in university hacks is more of a do or die situation and is really important. Now this another point, okay. This will give you a very good amount of differential when you go into university hacks. Business model. So hardly people think of business model in the first place. Think of a business model for a product, as in like what do you plan? How would it generate revenue when it goes out to the market? Okay, so I'll give you a tip here. Try not to include business models such as advertisement or sponsors, as this might be a red flag because these are very conventional methods and these are like something which you do when you don't have a good revenue or a business model. Spend enough time on this in your pitch and convince them this product is ready to go out and make big bucks out in the market. So, and in case of short on time when you're making a business model, just Google the business model what you want and add the first business model they say. Just add it because having a business model is really important in university hack because at the end of the day they want to see like how your product is going to make revenue. DSP, I know you want a position in a hack just by pitching is proof of concept. Yeah, exactly. So okay, just to give concept, proof of concept. Okay, yeah, proof of concept is something like you plan to build. You show them you can build that, but you haven't built it. So as DSP said, you can literally win it. Like that's the power of pitching a presentation, right? that person just won the hack. Like that's the importance of pitching. I don't think we can explain it in a better way. Yeah, cool. So now to summarize our tech loop, this code, go to a hack, try to win, repeat it. But at the end of the day, as we mentioned, right, it's all about the journey. It's more about how much you learn. It's try to win, but at the end of the day, it's all about how much you learn and you have fun with your friends. Go to hack with your friends, learn, build things together. You learn. We hope you like the tips and tricks, and we hope it helped you. We have a Discord server where like we are constantly available. And if you have any doubts during a hack, you want any tips and tricks, you want any special assistance, you can just drop in the Discord server, ask us. Most of us will be there and we'll be ready to help. I think like we'll be soon be dropping the Discord link in the meet chat too.